Thank you very much, Mr. Ratan Singh. Thank you very much for the welcome, and thank you all very much for coming out this evening in Chaguanas East. Deputy political leaders, party chairman, other party officers, members of council here in Chaguanas, members of the executive in Chaguanas East, Chaguanas West, Couva North, Couva South, Caroni Central, Caroni East, the group of constituencies that we loosely regard as the central constituencies. Today, while not being a red letter day, today is a very important and historic day for us in the PNM. Because not too long ago, just over an hour ago, we concluded the General Council meeting of the People's National Movement, which takes place every month, somewhere in Trinidad and Tobago, usually at Balizé House. But today, for the first time in the history of the People's National Movement, the General Council met in Central Trinidad, here in Chaguanas East. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not by accident. It is by design, but based on a fundamental principle that we are a national party for all the people of Trinidad and Tobago, cutting across race, color, creed, class, or location. We pride ourselves in being able to say that in every election since 1956, whether it's a general election, a local election, a county council election, a THA election, a by-election, we of the PNM have provided a candidate in every district and have contested every election since 1956, a record that no other gathering can aspire to or can lay claim to. And that, ladies and gentlemen, more than anything else, demonstrates our commitment to serving at every level, in every location in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm a little older than many of you here in this gathering, so you didn't have the pleasure of being there on election night when PNM, through Manik Ramsaran, who passed away recently, won the constituency here in Central Trinidad and Tobago, a PNM victory that we will never forget. And of course, another occasion when nobody else wanted to contest and serve the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and only the PNM went to the polls, the PNM won every seat in every constituency in Trinidad and Tobago, and there we represented Central Trinidad. In the local election, we have done very well in recent times and have been doing better. Putting down this marker today in this regional office in preparation for our participation in the incoming elections, local and general, it says once again that the PNM is prepared to contest in every part of Trinidad and Tobago, and today we say especially in Central Trinidad. I know we have opponents for whom some of the seats that we have won in recent elections are viewed as marginal constituencies. They have a category called marginal, and it only makes me laugh. Seats that we have won by 3,000 votes to them are marginal. But seats that they have won by 1,000 votes or by 500 votes, they're not marginal. So today, we want to send a message to everybody. Every seat in Trinidad and Tobago is targeted by the People's National Movement. And the only reason why you're hearing such frequent mention of Chaguanas East here this afternoon is because this facility is located in Chaguanas East, and we have already screened the candidate and has put a candidate on the ground in Chaguanas East. But we are equally eager in Chaguanas West, Couva South, Couva North, Caroni Central, Caroni East, and all the constituencies in Central Trinidad. There will be a formidable PNM standard bearer. But what is this time that we are in? It's a time when the new executive of the PNM has come to this area, found a location, painted our color, and raised our standard on the main road here in Montrose. Joining by officialdom, bringing our administration to the people of Central Trinidad, and you are free to call this building Balize House, Central Trinidad, Balize House, Chaguanas East, because there'll be a lot of Balizes on display here. I want to thank all of those who were involved in this execution to have brought us here today to conduct the important business of General Council and the more important business of opening this campaign office here today. The time that we are in is a time that requires us to be cognizant of what is Trinidad and Tobago and who we are. You see, there's an African proverb that says, the story of the hunt is not fully told unless and until it is told by the lion. There are those who view themselves as hunters, and it's only their story should be told. Well, today, the story of Trinidad and Tobago is to be told from today going forward, not by those who tell you that we are a failed state, because that may suit the agenda of some people. It may suit the conversation of some people. First, it's not the truth, and secondly, it does not suit you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, for any voice of any station to paint our effort as failed state. I resent that, ladies and gentlemen. I resent it. And let me just walk you through very quickly who we are and what we are doing here in Trinidad and Tobago. First and foremost, let the record show that Trinidad and Tobago has a strong and functioning government in this country. A government that has won an election in difficult times, won handsomely, and has taken responsibility for the state of affairs in the country. We have a functioning parliament which currently is on recess, which has not been in the parliament building for years, but in a few months under this administration, this functioning parliament will return to the Red House in the capital city of Port of Spain. We have a judiciary which is functioning without interference, and that judiciary has been seeing in recent times improved policies and programs and systems geared towards improving the dispensing of justice in Trinidad and Tobago. All over this country, from Charlottesville, Roxborough, to Cedars, to Carenage, to here in Central Trinidad, all over this country, healthcare is delivered on a daily basis, an hourly basis to all our citizens, free of charge in hospitals and health centers and health visitors across this country. And as I speak to you now in this country, we are currently preparing to, we are opening one hospital in Couva. We are about to open one in Point Fortin in a few months, and also in Arima, brand new hospitals. I've just turned the sod for a new hospital in Roxborough, and in a few weeks, I'll be turning the sod for a new hospital in Sangre Grande. That is to ensure that the people of this country continue to have not just healthcare delivery, but modern standards of healthcare delivery on an improved basis. Where is the failed state in that? We are on school holidays now. Every school in this country where free secondary and primary education is available, and 2 universities funded by the people of Trinidad and Tobago provide educational opportunities where teachers go to work every day. And of course, it's an insult to them as they put forward their effort to ensure that our children are educated wherever they are, that their effort is viewed as that of failure. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, in our national budget, we continue to provide payments in the form of cash to the tune of $4 billion every year for pensions and social support systems, servicing those who are least able to help themselves. There are many people in this country who rely entirely on those payments for their sustenance and the sustenance of their families, I dare say. And that, ladies and gentlemen, might not be important to some, but that is important to us in the government to make sure that those payments are available so that you can continue to live a life of dignity in Trinidad and Tobago. On the national security, we have a functioning police service with about approximately 8,000 officers and an expanded national security system that is fighting a persistent crime problem and a criminal element which will not respect this party, that party, or even you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, requiring to be fought on an ongoing basis every day of the year, every month of the year, and this is what we do to protect our safety and our security. Ladies and gentlemen, as I speak to you, with respect to infrastructure, we own an airline that flies us to metropolitan states, to capitals abroad. We own Caribbean Airlines that take us to Tobago in a subsidized way, where Tobagonians can come to Trinidad and Trinidadians can go to Tobago, 5 planes flying continuously every day of the year. We have 3 ferries, 2 passenger ferries and 1 cargo ferry sailing every single day between our 2 islands. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we have just restructured our oil company, creating new companies to put us in a better position than we were in before this government came into office. And ladies and gentlemen, our national gas company, which had suffered a severe blow and was on the verge of bankruptcy, is today reporting improved performance with significant profits. Our economy, ladies and gentlemen, is going through challenging times. There were those who, for the first 2 years of this government's life, were convinced that the government would collapse as the economy collapsed. They were wishing that our economy would have collapsed because we reported to you that when we started out in this government, we had money to run the country for 3 days, but we had bills to pay. We had foreign debt to pay. We had public servants to pay every month, and we had monies to pay for all the requirements of a government that is always looking out for its citizens. I can report to you today, 1 month away from 4 years in office, that the economy has not collapsed. You have not worked and not been paid, and our public debt has been paid, and our economy is on the mend. And as we do that, we told you that we lost $20 billion a year from our main revenue stream in oil and gas. And as we had lost that kind of revenue, we were still required to maintain what I've just told you there, to maintain the health system, to maintain the education system, to maintain the national security system. And we've done that, ladies and gentlemen, managing our debt and managing our revenue. And Trinidad and Tobago today is a much happier place than when I took this oath of office on the 9th of September 2015. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, as we do that, going in the right direction, acknowledging still that we have problems and we have problems to solve. It is against that background that we are being told that we are a failed state. Whose story is that? Whose story is that? It certainly is not your story here in Central Trinidad, because you are about the most prosperous part of this whole nation. It certainly isn't the story of the PNM. It certainly isn't the story of the men and women who are working in the oil industry, offshore and onshore, fighting in an international business to make sure that we stay competitive. It surely is not the story of the doctors and nurses inside the hospital who are saving lives and issuing health care on a 24-hour basis. It sure is not the story of the policemen and women who put their lives on the line to face down criminals who are armed with automatic weapons and who will kill them at the blink of an eye. It is the story of those who profit most from what this country has to offer. And I take umbrage at them labeling our country, for those of you in the country who don't know better, and for those outside who would look at us to be told that all our effort here in Trinidad and Tobago is that amounting to that of a failed state. We in Trinidad and Tobago, ladies and gentlemen, we know our difficulty and we know our path, and we travel along that road with boundless faith in our destiny. We know that we have to do what has to be done, come fair weather or foul. We know that we have to make Trinidad and Tobago succeed, and that's what this government has done. As I speak to you now, the banks are doing better than they were doing in 2015. The manufacturing sector is still manufacturing and going to markets abroad, assisted by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. We, ladies and gentlemen, are encouraging persons in this country to have both feet in this country, to put your hands to the wheel, because the future of this country is a bright one if we all do what we have to do at our individual stations. But I know as Prime Minister that I don't make friends in certain quarters, because there are some things that you are required to do to please some people, but if you don't do those things, you make enemies. But I know I work for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and my view is that the vast majority of people in Trinidad and Tobago are decent, right-thinking people, and they will see a government that is working for all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. In that very difficult situation I just mentioned, the loss of revenue, you have a Minister of Finance who has managed our affairs and maintaining inflation at 1%. Ladies and gentlemen, in better times with better resources available, we didn't achieve that. We have maintained our public debt arrangements. Recently, in the restructuring of Petrotrin, when this country was facing massive downgrade, we had to refinance the Petrotrin debt to the tune of $850 million, going to the international banking community with our record of performance as our only recommendation to raise $850 million to pay this month. The money was due. And your government, your Minister of Finance, your cabinet, and the board of Petrotrin worked together, and that problem has been solved. Does that sound to you like a failed state problem? Does that sound to you like a failed state? It sounds to you like a state that is functioning, fixing its problems, and looking out for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And ladies and gentlemen, one of the most profitable sectors in this country is the banking sector. The banking sector. And those who are calling us failed state, they have a bank. They have a bank profiting in the improvements of the state. There are people in this country earning $100 million a month in profit from the same failed state. Question is, who is this state for? Who is it for? One of the problems and one of the recommendations that has been put to us relentlessly since we became government is that, yes, we all acknowledge what you all are saying, that we are in this problem. The collapse of the revenue side is no secret. So the way to deal with it, is to devalue the currency. The recommendation that we've been facing from day one, that the Minister of Finance has been facing from his advisors, official and unofficial, and may I say unofficial, because there is a simple mathematics that if you devalue the currency, you will get more Trinidad and Tobago dollars, and then you will pay it out, Trinidad and Tobago dollars, and whatever foreign currency you have would have worked for the country in that way. But let me explain to you, especially you, the poor people in Trinidad and Tobago. If you consider yourself a poor person, or a person who is not wealthy, let me explain to you what devaluation is. It means that the US dollars that are available have a certain value against the Trinidad and Tobago dollars. Currently, it's just under 7 to 1, 685. Let's say roughly it is 7 because some people are buying it at 7. Let's, for ease of argument, use 7. If you have $3 billion, as there is in the private sector in this country, private sector people own in this country 3 billion approximately, a minimum of 3 billion US dollars. That is worth 21 billion Trinidad and Tobago dollars. 3 billion by 7, that's 21. If the advice as is given to us is taken to devalue that currency from 6 to 8, that is a 33% devaluation. It means that the US dollar that is in hand will be worth to the owner 33% more, and it means that those who have Trinidad and Tobago dollars or Trinidad and Tobago's bills to pay, their cost will go up by minimum 33% because their Trinidad and Tobago dollar business will be worth 33% less. Meaning that the person with $3 billion by 7, 21 billion, if you add a 1/3 devaluation on that, that's a $7 billion. So their worth in Trinidad and Tobago dollars will move from 21 billion to 28 billion. And worse, some are pounding us and telling us that we must devalue it to 10 to 1, meaning a 50% devaluation. Ladies and gentlemen, if we do anything like that, what's going to happen? So 3 billion, 21 billion, if it goes down by a third, but if it goes by 50%, what is that? What is 3 billion by 10? That is 30 billion. So immediately, the $21 billion worth of Trinidad and Tobago dollars become $30 billion Trinidad and Tobago dollars. So immediately, any decision by the Minister of Finance to do any of those things would make those who have been hoarding Trinidad and Tobago US dollars, they automatically get billions of dollars. And of course, much of the US dollars that is being hoarded in this country is put there by the central bank to maintain the current exchange rate. For those of you who have US dollars, a devaluation that has been demanded from the government is good business for you. But for those of you who don't have US dollars and you live on Trinidad and Tobago dollars, a devaluation as is being demanded by some is danger to you because you will immediately become impoverished, and of course you may find yourself not being able to deal with the price increases that will follow. This government came into office not to be beholden to any group or groups of persons. We are beholden to the population of Trinidad and Tobago's best interests. And that is why from day one, we have said, given what we are facing, given what we have, given what we don't have, we will manage this country's affairs with an exchange rate as have been managed by the Minister of Finance for the last 4 years. You think we made many friends doing that? You think we made many friends doing that? So usually, when you see certain arguments being put forward, and when you see the relentless attack on the government and personnel in the government, it has nothing to do with any fact of any assessment of the government or the person. There are much deeper issues which you on the pavement and you at home in your house have no idea what the undercurrents are. And the only agency that is facing that is the government, and the only people who have all those stories is the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. I just gave you one example of what they want of the government. And if you don't give us that, you are the worst. And relentlessly, they will pursue their interests, not giving a dime about the interests of the wider national community. I'm sure all of you know that a devaluation means when you go to the store to buy clothing or to buy food or to pay transportation, a devaluation means greater expenses for the same item. And this government that has managed your affairs without any significant devaluation in the currency has done the best thing for you, the poor people of Trinidad and Tobago. It has maintained your ability to keep a certain value on your earnings and on your worth. And if it offends some people, chew pool. Ladies and gentlemen, last night I had the opportunity of being in the Savannah, where Trinidad and Tobago is hosting CARICOM at CARIFESTA. I will encourage all of you to look at the program and visit the CARIFESTA, and you'll be proud of your country as the host nation hosting the CARIFESTA of 2019, CARIFESTA 14. We are not to be trifled with. We accept our responsibility and we present our country proudly, and I dare say, like our athletes who represented us recently in Lima at the Pan Am Games, like those who represented us at the World Championships, like those who are now representing us all over the world. I don't know about the rest of them. I know about you and I know about me. We are proud of the red, white, and black. We are proud of Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned to you a while ago the question of the availability of healthcare in this country. There are thousands of procedures that take place throughout the health system on a daily basis. You don't hear or know about most of those. The way the news is carried and the way we react, every so often something goes wrong with an individual or a process or a procedure in a hospital here or there, and we judge the whole healthcare by that. The same way we judge the whole country by the number of murders. We define ourselves by the number of murders. And as a result of that, we have people telling us, wraparound front page headline about crime and murders, that we are a failed state. Yes, we have a problem with crime and criminality. Yes, we have an unacceptable murder level, but that is only one part of the many parts of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We are not all murderers. We are here fighting criminality, and by God, we will win that fight against those bad children. Let me give you another example. In 2015, we were failing our millennium goal with respect to maternal mortality at our hospitals. We were required to have a certain reduction by 2015. We were failing that. In 2015, we were required to have a 75% reduction in mortality. It wasn't there by 2015. But we appointed and established a directorate of women's health in the healthcare system. We established a directorate of women's health because this whole question of minimizing the loss of women's life at childbirth was important to us, to this government. And I can tell you, we have in the period of this administration, in this country's record now, that we have reduced the number of mortality at birth from 65 per 100,000 to under 30 per 100,000. That is a remarkable achievement at the health system. Does that sound to you like a failed state accomplishment? Ladies and gentlemen, neonatal births, that means loss of babies at birth or soon after birth. We were 12.6%. Having focused on it in our healthcare system, the same healthcare system I just mentioned, the one that you all love to badmouth, we are now down to under 7%. And nobody gives credit to those who have done that, those in the healthcare delivery in the hospitals, and the government that has made it possible for them to deliver that level of healthcare. Because all we seem to want to do is to focus on the negatives of this country. And those who call you out to do that, I'm asking you to reject that approach completely, because there's more to Trinidad and Tobago than the negatives that they trade in. Ladies and gentlemen, if you focus only on the negatives, you would have lost the hope that our independence brought to us. A hope that we could run this country in such a way that whatever potential the country has, we with the responsibility will go forward and realize that potential. Nobody ever told us that there wouldn't be problems. Nobody ever promised us a rose garden in which there are no thorns. Nobody ever promised us a living without effort. And nobody ever promised us a good outcome without, first and foremost, the people of this country taking responsibility for the issues of this country. And that is why today, as we report to you on what we have accomplished as a government, how this country is changing for the better, how the people of this country are now away from mortal peril, because, ladies and gentlemen, if their wishes had come true, that we were in fact what they said we were, the economy that we worked with to maintain every single gazetted public servant job in Trinidad and Tobago has been maintained under this government. There has been no policy to treat with our issues which involve retrenchment of workers to reduce the labor force on the public service payroll. We have in fact expanded the arrangements. We gave those at the lowest level of earning an improvement. We moved the tax-free earnings from 60,000 to 72,000, which means that if you were earning 5,000 a month, it was tax-free. We made it 6,000 a month tax-free. That would never form part of the conversation about failed state. Ladies and gentlemen, we gave incentives in agriculture, in tourism, in manufacturing. The harvest is there. Where are the reapers? Where are the reapers? I was talking a moment ago to a cocoa farmer, and I had to say to him, you hear so much about agriculture in this country. The one thing we're short of are farmers. Farmers. Because everybody believes that somebody else must do it. Somebody else must get sweaty. Somebody else must go in the jungle. Somebody else must exercise their muscle. And when they do that, we will have it. But many people who can contribute are being led astray, being given the impression that somebody is denying them something which they are waiting to collect. And therefore, something is bad with the country. There's nothing wrong with the country of Trinidad and Tobago that we cannot fix with the requisite effort. Nothing whatsoever. And there's so much that is right, that if they are allowed to work for those for whom they should be working, we in Trinidad and Tobago will realize the full potential which we encourage as we enter into independence, this being the month of independence. We are standing here, ladies and gentlemen, about to celebrate independence on the 31st of August. I'm sure you know somebody or would have read somebody's statement in one of the papers that what are we celebrating? We have nothing to celebrate. Those are the words of cynics who can contribute nothing to the positive development of Trinidad and Tobago. You know there are people in this country, some of them who just love a good bacchanal. Some of them that love a good old talk. Some of them that love to be the one to bring the bad news. Well, all societies have that, except that we have it a little more than most societies. So you have to understand that in this era of our life, there are people encouraging us not to give truth any station, not to take truth seriously. You know what the handlers of the UNC have published? Some people call Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica, which came into this country to experiment with a certain kind of process of mind games, they have published that what is important is not what people, is not the truth, is what people are made to believe. And let me repeat that for you all. The Cambridge Analytica doctrine, which the UNC is following, is that truth is not what is important. It is what you can make people believe. And that is why today I reject out of hand the labeling of my country, the country that I love so much, that you love. I reject out of hand any attempt to label our effort as that of a failed state. Because if you and your children believe that, you know which road you'll be walking. You'll be walking the road of no hope. You will believe that there's no future. There's no hope. There's no way out. And the cynicism turns to despair. Who wants you to turn to despair? Certainly not the PNM. Who wants you to believe that your country cannot provide you with a quality of life that you aspire to when you were younger, and a quality of life that your children can attain as they aspire to it? Who wants you to do that? Certainly not the PNM. And if you don't focus on the truth and get influenced by what they want you to believe, therein lies the danger and the loss of our future. Today, you have to become fact checkers. You have to become truth tellers. This is a statement I made at the PNM convention in Tobago last year, because it was clear then what was happening to us. There are those who would feed us. There are those who would feed us with their story. And you don't have a television station. You don't have a newspaper. You don't have radio stations to feed lies to this country. What we have is a media that could tell us, using the mechanisms of technology, what is to be told, and what has to be told to us. You have to ensure that that is the truth. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't do that, it will be a straight case of he who have corn feeding more fowl, and you will suffer the indigestion. So, ladies and gentlemen, we of the PNM, we have come here in central Trinidad, not in a strange place, as some might think, not in a place unknown to us, because we have always maintained a presence in this part of the country. And I say to you, those of you who don't know the PNM, some of the staunchest PNM supporters are in areas where it is difficult to be PNM, and Central Trinidad has those members. It is easy to be PNM in Diego Martin and Laventil and so on, because those areas are viewed as PNM strongholds. But when you are PNM in Chaguanas East, when you are PNM in Chaguanas West, and you are PNM in Couva South, and areas that the PNM have not been representing in the parliament for a number of years, there are those who believe that you don't belong. But you are the ones who know. It is because you know that the things I've just mentioned are what is important. What is important is, what is the government doing for the country? None of what I mentioned there a while ago about education, health, national security is confined to any single part of the country. It is for the entire country. So we govern on that basis. So whether we win, lose, or draw on election day, we govern for the entire country. So those people supporting our party in this area, where it is difficult to be PNM and to win, what we are saying to you, you are not alone and you're not forgotten, and this office represents the standard in this area. And I want to say to the young people of Central Trinidad, there are those who believe that the decision to be made about a government of Trinidad and Tobago is to be made on race and religion. I say to you here in 2019, August 2019, that is a long time story. You look at what your country is to be, and who is in the best position to deliver the main issues of the country, and that is the People's National Movement. The People's National Movement. We can defend our record in every single area of governmental activity. That has nothing to do with the color of your skin, the nature of your hair, or where you're located. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a new time, a new era. And in this era, the PNM is prepared to carry its responsibility without fear or favor, without malice or ill will, towards the great success that is the nation of Trinidad and Tobago. So, they're calling for election. Elections will come. The elections will come. We have no intention of not calling an election. I happen to have been there when this great party lost a general election for the first time, 33-3. The advice I got then from the know-it-alls was that all you have to change the party name, all you have to change the Balizé symbol if all you want to come back. And I said, all we have to do is trust in the good sense of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And 5 years later, there was a PNM government in Trinidad and Tobago. So now we say to the people of Central Trinidad, you've tried the rest. Now select the best, the People's National Movement. And if you have forgotten what the clarion call is, and you haven't been calling it out in Central Trinidad, let me remind you what that call is. It is great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail.